Episode number 135 with Mike and Carlos. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton.
This is Mike Snyderman.
And I'm coming to you from Maui, enjoying a little vacay. How's your day going, Mike?
Just waking up here, pretty much.
Yeah, right on. Jonah's still a little under the weather?
Yeah, taking care of my son. He actually came at 7 a.m., but of course I only had 4 hours sleep, so I just threw the little guy in front of a TV and went back to sleep for a few hours. Hashtag good parenting there.
Yes. Good deal. You've had quite the run lately at Cash.
Well, that ended the last few days, Steve.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, pretty bad. Yeah, I've had maybe some people missed the old Mike of the bad beat stories, so I'll just Kings against Aces 4 times this week.
Ooh.
0 for 4.
Huh.
Last night, one of them I should have got away from. The other 3, there's just nothing I could do. Situations. The guy, I knew him. He made it really big. Afterwards, I was trying to make it nice. He had 3 bet, and I had 4 bet to 100. He had somebody else had made it small, like 20. He made it 60. I made it 150. He made it like 800. So
at that point, he's never doing that with queens.
I was just like, no, again, I don't know why it's stupid to like study people's face and this and that. Like his pulse was going wildly, but a lot of times it's excitement or it's whatever. God, I hope it don't get cracked. It's just a situation. Somebody's looking at you. I don't know if you remember. There was a couple of hands from the World Series. We talked about that, but his pulse was going nuts.
Yeah.
And I called and lost, and then about 20 minutes later. Same thing. Guy open under the gun. 3 people call. I squeeze. Guy just shoves. Like the first one was like 1,500. The next one was like 900. And then I also got aces correct later. I 3-bet some guy. Guy opened at 25. This is a guy who always peels every time. I made it. Somebody else called. I made it like 160. And he called and he flopped a straight with 4-6.
Ew.
So I'm down like 6,000 the last. I lost like 3,600 yesterday, and down like 6,000. So the party's over. Back to the misery of reality.
What are you up for the month?
Yeah, up a little bit.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good.
I don't know. It's so fucking frustrating poker. So I don't know. I don't know how much. I don't know how to gauge what should be my earning rate at this place anymore. I really don't. I think I'm going to told myself I'll go back to 2-3 for at least a few days. We'll see if I can follow through on that.
I went up to Chumash Casino. It's a local Indian casino about an hour and a half from here. I took the plane. It came out of the shop, and I wanted to try it out, so I flew it up to Salinas, which is I don't know, probably a 4.5, 5-hour drive from where I'm at. Took like 2 hours in the plane. I get up there, I fuel up, and then I flew down, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go to the casino, and so I stopped in San Ynez, and they have a car that'll pick you up at the airport. You just tip the driver, so that was pretty cool. And I get there, and I go in, and probably should have called before I went, committed to going in there, but they only had 1-2. So I thought, okay, well, I'll go play 1-2. Somehow I managed to lose $300 the first night on that one. I had a 1-2 table. And then I had 9s, I remember, like the second hand. And I had opened 4 hands in a row. And then a kid to my left, when I raised again, he just instantly shoved for $100. And I'm like, this is a fold, right? And then I started like justifying it in my mind. I'm like, well, from his perspective, since I sat down, I've opened every single hand, and he has no idea that I've had ace queen and, pocket eights and all this stuff, because I haven't shown one. I thought, I don't know, just the speed at which he did it and the way he said it, and he was just rigid and kind of giddy, you know, and I'm like, I ended up calling. Of course, he had aces. And then the night just went bad from there. But then the next morning I woke up and won it all back and basically lost, I think, $30 in like 7 hours or something like that over the course of the trip. But it was a fun little live session.
Very Barton-esque experience. Nothing,
Yes.
nothing at all, even remotely meaningful going on there. Just lose a little, win a little. Just leaving a card room in a totally, with total equipoise there, with no emotional damage at all from the experience.
It was it was a lot of fun though. But yeah, the games aren't quite what I remember them to be from. I that's where I started playing, was up there probably like in 2003, and they had a lot more games. They had a lot bigger games, and I was asking them about it, and they said that yeah, they're like, we sometimes on the weekends we'll get 2-3, and I'm like, oh wow, this place has changed a lot. But it was still fun. It was cool. It was cool.
I'm debating whether to play the WPT championship this weekend at the bike.
Oh,
$4,000 entry. You know, probably $1 million for first. This is huge. Every big pro comes to this. Yeah, probably not the best use of funds, although I have someone who will pay as much as I want them to pay me into it. So,
well, that sounds like a good deal.
Although I don't know. We'll see what I decide to do. I think I need to have a winning cash session on Friday to go rebuild my confidence a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Well, when's it start, on Saturday or?
Well, there's 3 starting days: Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
Okay. Well, maybe you put up. I don't know. You just take 20 or 25% of yourself. If you do it, let me know. I want a piece.
Yeah, that's pretty much what the plan is, to do something like that if I play it. And okay. Yeah, I like tournaments, and there's a chance obviously here for a big score. I think I usually play pretty good against the tough competition, but I don't know. The problem is I would have no rebuy money, and these guys would just be, I would be kind of scared money a little bit, I think. So that's a problem. That's a problem here, or maybe it's not a problem, but.
Well, is that the only tournament they have, or do they? I'm sure they got other little side ones, right?
Yeah, probably. I don't travel for $200 tournaments. So.
Well, I'm not saying 200. I'm like $1,000 or something.
Well, that would probably be the day. Yeah, the day after. I think maybe on Monday. I think there's a 1K turbo or something like that. So that's a possibility.
Okay. All right. Well, let me know if you go play. I want to buy some action if you're willing to sell it.
Sure, Stevie.
Right.
Did I give you your money from the main event? I can't even remember.
You did. It was it was almost $100. It was like 94 something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There you go.
That paid for a couple weeks of the podcast.
Okay, there you go.
It's a win-win.
What else is? I don't know. I guess, are we going to have a Bitcoin specialist on? Should we not even talk about that right now?
I'm kind of excited about it. When I had an hour-long conversation with him, and I'm pretty damn excited about Bitcoin. Especially, I just looked last night, and it was up to like 4,100. And so my original investment of $450 3 years ago is paying off handsomely. And I ended up buying another one, Ethereum. That one I got like a month and a half ago, I think, for like $250, and now it's up over $3. And I also bought one Litecoin, which after talking with this guy, his name is Mark. I'm going to try to get him on the podcast. And he pretty much said that you're better off just selling that Litecoin, rolling it over into Ethereum. And I learned quite a bit from him. He said, I was debating. I'm like, is this like the next like spike in Bitcoin? And should I sell half of it and, just have half of Bitcoin? He's like, I wouldn't. He's like, Bitcoin is becoming the way of the future. And the thing is, with a lot of these other digital currencies, he said apparently there's like 900 of them. He said a lot of these other digital currencies, the only way to purchase them is with Bitcoin. And he's like, so, that's the backbone. And he said Ethereum may take it over. He said, but Bitcoin is so far ahead of the game and so ingrained in a lot of, I don't know what you would call it, like it's established, You know, I mean, you could buy a Tesla with Bitcoin. You can use it on Overstock.com. There's a lot of these sites that, you know, are accepting Bitcoin as well. He's like, I wouldn't sell any of it. He's like, I mean, you're only invested $450 now. He's like, I don't know if I would buy any more, but certainly don't sell it. I was like, okay,
right,
good advice. So his advice was a little bit more of like, you know, if you are kind of wanting to dabble in the market a little bit more, he's all, I would put your money into Ethereum. And then he also mentioned some other ones. And what was the one that you were talking about?
Neo.
Yes, he mentioned that one. He said that the Chinese have a big digital currency market, you know. And I was like, you know, that's a good point. I mean, they're 20% of the world's population. And he's like, yeah, and he said they're all into this, and they don't necessarily want to dabble in the Western market as far as digital currency. They kind of want their own. So Neo sounds kind of intriguing as well.
Sounds kind of sexy, yeah.
And
yeah, I got a buddy who is, like I said, just kind of. I think he got 1,000 Neo at $5 each, and it's 40 now. So over the course of a month, he made $35,000.
That's cool. That's cool.
So, you know, a lot of it happened in one day. He said it was selling at 9. He went to bed, woke up in the morning, it was 18, and he just sat there all day as it just went through the roof. So he was grinding 5.5 and had like a, you know, 25, 30K day or something ridiculous.
Oh my God.
So,
awesome.
Yeah, I got to figure some things out. There's a buddy I'm trying to take this in a very Steve professional way, is like, you got to find a way to reduce these fees, though. Bank of America, when I buy Bitcoin, is a killer.
Yeah.
And when you order it from Coinbase, they charge you too. So between the two, I'm looking at like 7 or 8%.
Yeah.
Now, you know, hopefully Bitcoin is just, especially if it's a long-term investment, it almost, you know, doesn't matter that much. But so that's something I got to look into. And if there's a way to I think there's already exchanges now where you go and you can buy Bitcoin with cash.
Yeah,
you go down and you hand cash, and there's the Bitcoin, and they put it in your whatever account, and so that's something to look at in the future here too, where it's you don't have to deal with the banks kind of stuff. I mean, eventually, this is talking about avoiding the fees more than avoiding like the taxes. I mean, I'm sure they charge fees too, but it can't be as bad as fucking 7%. Is absurd.
It is. When I put some money on ACR using Bitcoin, it was instant. But you're right; those fees are, yeah, they just get you. They get you when you're buying them, and then they get you when you're transferring them.
I don't get transfer fees. I don't know what you're using Coinbase?
Yeah.
Okay, I only get it for buying and selling. Yeah, I don't think you get transfer fees. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I was not paying attention. But yeah. Anyways, I got 6,000 in my little Bitcoin account, so I bought like 8 different digital currencies for anywhere between like $1,400 to like $30. You know, trying to spread them out. Just
nice. Oh, one other thing that Mark said was real important. He said that you want to. I need to do this too. I made a note about it and I forgot to cross it off my list. He said you probably don't need to do it with the other digital currencies. He said, but definitely with Bitcoin. He said now that it's becoming more popular, there's a lot of hackers, and he said like if they get in and they hack your Bitcoin, it's just freaking gone like a fart in the wind, and there's nothing you can do about it. And so he said you definitely, like at a bare minimum, you want to have, do you have that 2-step authentication that Bitcoin has, that app on your phone where you have to type in that 6-digit code?
No, I got to figure out how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, he said at a bare minimum you want to do that. And then he said what you really need to do is, he gave me the name of it. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but there's this little, it's like a USB drive that you can order from this company, and then you keep your Bitcoin on that basically makes it hack-proof. I thought, yeah, that would suck just to lose 4K like that. You know, now apparently this USB drive is like $200, but that's a small price to pay. You know, it's cheap insurance.
Right.
So
okay.
Yeah, I want to get him on the podcast. I think it'd be really interesting because I know a lot of poker players, especially online grinders are invested in Bitcoin.
Okay. Yeah. No. I'd be curious there. I mean, there's a lot of information out there, and I don't know what's the best one. So to have an actual expert on there, it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, he seems like a real entrepreneur. In the last month or so, he's quit. He used to do SEO, search engine optimization stuff for companies, and he's kind of getting away from that. And he's just doing digital currency full time, buying and selling and researching. And he says he probably spends 4 to 6 hours a day just learning about digital currency. So.
Well, we usually don't find smart people in Oakland whorehouses, Steve. But when you just run good that way. Wherever you go, you find.
Oh, so true. Yeah.
So who else do we have? I guess we're hoping. We didn't get Carlos today, so we got to get him on again.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've jumped on and watched Skinny Carlos on Twitch, man. He's lost a lot of weight, so I'd be curious what the secret there is. I need to do that.
Yeah, I don't know how many pounds he's lost, but he looks pretty good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I got
Assassinato. We got to get back on now that he's official on the TPE team.
Yes. Have you watched his first series?
I have. It's pretty amusing. He's talking about all sorts of just going off on talking about coffee. And sometimes at one point he starts going off about a rant for all these idiots who were worried about kids drowning in their pools or something. I can't remember, but it's classic Assassinato. His little poker analogies are always fun to listen to.
It is, yeah. He's so smart when it comes to these spots, and I think it's just all the time and work he's put in. There was a couple of spots where he's like, "Okay, what would you do here?" And he's got Queen 10 of diamonds, and he's in, I think, the cutoff, and a guy from early middle, late early position. I don't know, like UTG plus 1 or 2 or something like that, and. He's like, "What do you do here?" And I'm like, "Well, I'd probably call." And he's all, "If you said call, you're wrong." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then he goes on this 5-minute dissertation about why it's better to 3-bet here, and that's the only move to make. And he's run all these calculations, and that's the only thing that'll show a profit. I'm like, "Okay, I'm convinced." I played a session yesterday for about 6 or 8 hours online, and that exact spot came up. With the Queen 10 of diamonds. I was like, oh, this is perfect. Now I know I got a 3-bet.
Right.
Was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's interesting listening to him recently, just in terms of pre-flop ranges. I mean, I think I have a good idea what my opening ranges should be. I mean, Carlos says I open too wide, but I will adjust to the table. And, 3-betting ranges from each position But he's talking about the biggest leak in a lot of players' games is just calling too many 3-bets now. This is pretty standard, just not folding. I mean, before it was considered exploitable just to be opening and folding so much to 3-bets when people were bluffing so much.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of gone the other way where you're calling 3-bets and being flop dependent, and people aren't realizing, these are not profitable calls. You've got to, you've got to 4-bet some more.
Yeah, I feel like
or fold. So there's a lot of spots I have to think about, and I kind of got to start over with that. It's against a guy who 3-bets 11% when I'm opening middle position, king queen suited. I raise, he 3-bets. I mean, I'm ahead of his range, right? But that seems to be an argument for flatting as well. Keep dominated hands in, but
yeah, that same thing. I feel like I need to develop a 4-bet range that's not nutted. I think King Queen is a pretty good one just because you got two blockers. But there was a couple situations that came up like that yesterday. Same thing. I'm opening King Queen off in middle position. I get 3-bet, and I'm like, and I just fold it every time. And I'm like, I feel like a third of the time here I should be 4-betting just to, kind of stay balanced. Because if they know that that's what I got, and they'll just 3-bet me every time, and I'm just dumping it,
I do have actually a 4-bet bluffing range. Like Carlos, I said it recently, and Assassinato said the same in the video. They just don't exist. Which is, so I get some points for that. If I open and somebody 3-bets me, I will 4-bet if they got a high 3-bet with like the ace two suited kind of stuff.
Okay.
King 10 off if it's late position, and so I get kind of points for that. But I'm also just flatting like so many hands too. I'm flatting so I wonder if some of these, early position Jack 10 suited, somebody does a smallish 3-bet. Does that ever become actually a 4-betting hand, or you know what I mean? Like ace Jack suited seems like a great hand, but if you just call, you're going to be check giving up so often.
True. Yeah.
You've invested 7 big blinds in there, or whatever it is, So yeah, that's something to think about.
Yeah, I did a coaching session with Ben Hales. He was on the podcast before he does the post-flop poker podcast. And he looked over my stats on Hold'em Manager, and he's like, yeah, you're doing good. He's like, I see something here. And he said, early position, I was making like 2.2.5 or 2.7 big blinds per 100. And he's like, this is kind of low. And he's like, well, let's look at this. So we pull up the hands from early position. He's like, tell me what you do in early position. I was like, okay, well, I raise my nutted hands, and then every now and then, I'll throw in like a, Jack 10 suited or 9-10 suited, 8-9 suited, stuff like that, just to kind of throw a wrench in the system. He's like, okay, that's good. He's all, but this number should be higher. He's like, let's stop playing quite so much junk in early position. He's like, I think you're doing that in an attempt to be, deceitful or to attempt to be balanced, but you're going too far. And he's like, kind of back that off a little bit. And so I played, 1,500 hands yesterday, and out of the 50,000 hands that are on my database, just after that one session and not playing so much crap under the gun, my expected big blinds per 100 over went from 2.5, and it went all the way up to 3.5. So I was just in one session from not playing that crap. It went up an entire big blind per 100 after 1,500 hands. I was like, all right, that was a good hour investment.
Right,
there.
Sure.
Another one he said too was I got a 3-bet more out of the big blind, and he's all not much more. He said my big blind, I'm losing 25 big blinds per 100 in the big blind, and then in the small blind I'm losing 13. And he's like, that's decent. He's all, but you can make it better. And he said, you're just flatting so much out of the big blind. And that just comes from watching all those videos with Mark and the work that Mark and Ben have done about how all the odds you're getting, and then I'm consciously aware of that now when there's a couple of raises and I'm sitting in the big blind with 10-7 off or something. I'm like, well, I'm getting like 7 or 8 to 1 here. Like, how can I not call? And he's like, those are spots where you got to call. He said, but, there's also a lot of other times where you're probably flatting with an offsuit ace, and he's like, those are the ones you got to 3-bet. I'm like, okay. So that was a good one. And then
and you got to look how often the cutoff and the button are raising too. That's where if they're raising 40%, I've got lots of stuff in my 3-bet range there, not just the ace blockers,
Exactly. And he another one he said too was out of I'm good on 0 to 10 big blinds now, and then 10 to 15 or 11 to 15, but the 16 to 25 big blinds, I wasn't winning very much. It was just like 5 or 6 big blinds per 100. And he said that's a perfect reshove stack because you have a lot of fold equity. He's like, when you have that stacked, actively be thinking, is this a reshove spot? He said, ask yourself that every time before you flat or you call, flat or call, before you flat. And he said, so start reshoving there, not hugely often, but always be asking yourself the question, is this a good reshove spot? So, yeah, it was good. I'm glad I did that session with him.
Right. Yeah, I think some of these spots that, like, somebody opens, like, middle position, you got, like, pocket sixes in the small blind with 26 bigs. That's actually a profitable shove.
I think so.
It seems like too many. Yeah, I think this is old school from 5 years. In my mind, in my mind, I have this thing stuck that only 20 big blinds is a shove stack. Where, really 25, like you said, 26 bigs. There's probably a lot of shove spots you're missing, or just flatting or 3-bet folding, even doing stuff that's just not quite as profitable as shoving.
Yeah. Oh, I got a strategy hand from Chumash at 1-2 cash game.
Okay.
Alrighty. First, I'm going to tell you about Elliot Roe. Yes, you know the drill. Get in the right mindset before you play. Whatever your game, online, live, cash, tournaments, sit and goes, he's even got spin and goes. Try his 7-minute tilt buster. It's free from me to you. Click on the link in the show notes, put it right on your phone, and you can try it today. When you do purchase, use the code HUPOKER. Score yourself a little discount. The Mindset Advantage by Elliot Roe. It's in the name. Give yourself an advantage. Okay, so this was from that 1-2 cash game.
Okay.
I've been playing, let's see, this was the following morning. So I played the night, and then I came back in the morning. And the villain is a guy, he's an older guy to my left. He's not a great player. For example, I was in the big blind. This was a hand before, not the strategy hand we're talking about, but to give you kind of an idea what kind of player he is. I was in the big blind with ace-2 off. He raised under the gun. We get the small blind calls, and then I complete, and the flop was like 8-deuce-4. Small blind checks. I lead out with bottom pair. He calls. Small blind folds. The turn is an ace, giving me aces up, 2 pair. I bet. He calls, and then the river is a blank, and I shove all in, and he thinks for a long time, and then he calls. And he called with ace-3. So he called on the flop, no pair, no draw, and then he got it all in by the river with top pair, weak kicker. So that's a little bit of a background.
Okay. Stationy. He's never folding the top pair kind of guy. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a station. Yeah. Okay, so we're under the gun. We've got ace-jack offsuit, and we're, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7-handed. So suited, this is a fist pump raise. Offsuit, 7-handed. I think it's still a raise, at a weak passive table.
Sure.
You're raising it? Yeah. Okay. I make it 4. I don't know why I made it 4 and I didn't make it like 6 or 8 or something, but for whatever reason, I made it 4. The guy to my left, the player from the previous hand I was talking about, he calls. A lady calls, the cutoff calls, small blind calls, and then the big blind ironically folds. So we go to the flop, and the flop is ace of spades, king of spades, 9 of clubs.
Okay.
So we don't have a spade. Small blind checks, and it's on us.
Bet 15.
Okay. Yeah, the pot's 22. I throw out 20. I thought the way this table is, I think we're getting called here by gut shots like queen jack, jack 10, any ace, flush draws. But I laid out for 20. The guy to my left calls, and everyone else folds.
Okay.
And okay, so we go to the turn now. There's 62 in the pot, and
What are we putting him on? Would he call with just king X?
I think he would call with any king. I think he would call with a flush draw.
You got him on a bunch of dominated aces too, which is good.
Yeah. And
Is he a guy whoever would ever slow play 2 pair a set? You think, or he's someone who just can't control himself there? He's gonna raise it every time.
I think he'd definitely slow play a set or 2 pair.
Okay.
Yeah, because I saw him do that with a set before. Now that you say that.
Okay, the old bastard's cagey. Let's see.
Yeah. Okay, so the turn is the 4 of spades. So the board now is ace of spades, king of spades, 9 of clubs, 4 of spades. 62 in the pot. Effective stacks now are 62. I've got like 200. He's got like 62 behind.
I don't know. Do we check call? I mean, we're never bet folding here, I assume. So, here if you bet he's folding his king X, he might fold his weaker aces. Where if you check, maybe he shoves them in. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking.
I guess you could maybe against. I don't know. Maybe some people bet fold here. I mean, I guess it would have to be. There's certain villains. I guess I could find a way to do that, but here I don't know.
I don't think. I'm trying to think. I don't think we can bet fold. I mean, what are we going to do? Bet 20, and then when he shoves, it's only another 42 to call. I mean. But at that point, are we ever good?
I didn't think so, but unless you just think this guy is, you'd have to think the guy is like bluffing like less than 10% of the time. Like he's always got a flush here,
Yeah.
Which is hard to put someone on that,
Yeah, I went for the check, and I figured if I bet, I'm never getting called by a worse hand. Like, is he? Well, maybe I am actually. If he called my all in before with a weak ace, maybe he would call here with like, I don't know, ace 10 or something. I don't know. I went for a check. Maybe that.
Okay.
I check, and then he checks behind, and he checks behind. He took about, I don't know, 4 or 5 seconds, something like that. Looked like he was thinking, and then he checked behind. Okay, river is an offsuit 8. So the final board is ace of spades, king of spades, 9 of clubs, 4 of spades, and the river's an 8. No spade.
Yeah, I would be betting here, trying to get somehow called heroed by a king or called by a worse ace. I don't know. I'm trying to think if betting smaller is better or worse. I'm trying to think. I don't know. In terms of trying to get a call. Like I said, if you shove, he might. Let's just say he's got ace 10. If you bet 30, he calls 100% of the time. But if you bet 60, he probably still calls 90% of the time. You know what I mean? Like you're losing money by not shoving.
Yeah.
But my first instinct is to just bet half pot here. Bet 30.
And what do we do if he shoves? Like if we bet 30 and then he shoves another 32 on top of that? I mean, we can't fold, right? But are we ever good?
Yeah, I don't know. I would call. I would call. Okay. Just go by the pot out. There's too many times that I level myself into, I mean, I don't know, Steve. Yeah, that would be weird. That he would not bet the flush on the turn. But, good for him if he does it that way, I guess. Yeah, I guess for that, if you're worried about that, I guess I still would say then it's a bet fold, bet small.
Okay, like 20 or something.
Yeah, and then I guess you fold if he shoves. I don't know, but I think this is, I think assassin. Like a lot of people are just terrified of the bet fold situation when they're betting for value, but sometimes you got to be doing that quite a bit, especially in cash games. There's so many guys I see who do not bet top pair in the river, where it's just going to be good so often. The casual players.
Yeah.
And I own myself in a lot of these spots.
Yeah.
But I think you got to bet here. I think you can get called by worse quite frequently. It's a tough spot if he shoves over you, but I guess it's against this guy, some old guy who, if he has any leaks in his game, it's not going to be bluffing too much, right? It's going to be just calling too much, like most players at the low stakes. I guess for that reason, maybe you can bet fold.
I went for the check. I thought, although from the previous hand, I probably would get called by worse, but for whatever reason, I went for the check, and then he instantly takes his rack and then puts it in the center, so he moves all in. So there's 62 in the pot. He has 62 chips exactly in his stack, and he did it pretty quickly. And what do you
I don't know.
here?
I mean, I'm calling, but you know, is he ever doing that with King X, turning King into a bluff? I would say really infrequently.
Yeah.
Is he shoving worse aces for value? You know, maybe. I mean, I guess he's got to flush a lot, but I'm just not folding here.
Okay. That probably would have been the right move. I tank for a while. I try to get him talking, and I'm not getting anything out of him, and I fold. And then he breathed a sigh of relief, and then kind of got a big smile on his face. He's like, "Finally, I gotcha," because I had owned him on the hand before, and I actually won another big pot off him. Most of my winnings from that session came from him. But he said he had the queen of spades and an offsuit 8, so he turned a pair of 8s into a bluff on the river. And unless he was lying, but the way
if he's floating with ace 3, then I guess he could be calling with queen 8. But that sounds kind of weird with 3 other players to act behind him.
Doesn't it? That's where I was like, how could you possibly call with queen 8 there when you've got like nothing, you know?
But it's such a weird hand to make to lie about as a bluff too. You know what I mean?
That was I don't know, strange hand. Oh, we got Carlos on. I'm gonna add him to the call here. Guest appearance.
What's up, guys?
Carlos, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How about you, Steve?
Good,
Mike?
good.
How's it going, man?
You guys
Steve said that you had, quote, things to do in the morning. I didn't. I'm suspicious. What's her name? What's her name, man? You got a girlfriend, right?
Bullhead City Auto Repair.
Okay. That I believe now. Okay.
The Knitmobile, was it down under?
Yeah, the Knitmobile's in the hospital.
Oh shit! What's wrong with it?
It's running rough, but I'll know tomorrow what's wrong with it. But right now, they got to run tests.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep the Knitmobile in our thoughts and prayers.
Cool.
We were just talking about Skinny Carlos. It's weird here. So, but you're really into the health food thing now.
Yeah. Oh, are we recording right now?
Oh yeah, you're live. We're about half hour into the show.
Okay, y'all. You know what? Andrew got me like that a couple times. Just like right into it. I didn't know I was recording, so I had to catch myself before I say something inappropriate. But yeah, I am into the health food stuff. I'm currently eating a can of pineapples after dropping my van off at the shop and riding back 7 miles on a bicycle.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah. So pretty thirsty right now. Oh, and that's in probably 102 weather.
Damn. That's some commitment there, bro. I got to be honest with you. I would have called an Uber.
Zero chance.
You burned probably an extra 400 calories that I wouldn't have, and you saved yourself, $14 that I wouldn't have. So
$20 for a 30-minute bicycle ride. Like if I could get a job riding bicycles for $40 an hour, I would take that.
Right on. What is it that you're doing? Your recent pics that I've seen, you're definitely dropping the pounds. It sounds like you got a bicycle now. That's probably helping, right? And you're just eating healthier.
Yeah, just eating healthier. I'm not riding a bicycle other than when the van needs work. So that's been rare. I bought the bicycle maybe like 6 months ago, and I rode it twice since then. But the main thing I've been doing is just not eating meat. Not eating meat or dairy basically eating vegan, but trying my best. Actually, I'm not trying my best, but on my good days, avoiding like processed vegan food,
Okay.
like veggie burgers and stuff like that, and literally just eating like plants. Like that's the way I've been doing it. But I'll say I stick to that about 70% of the time, and the other 30% I'm eating like vegan burgers or veggie burgers, and like they got an assortment of veggie type stuff like fake junk food. But that stuff is not
you got
good
no
for
chicken or eggs or anything in there either. I guess is that considered dairy in the vegan world? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't eat anything that had a mother.
Okay.
Huh. I tried this diet, ironically. I lasted 3 days, only fruits and vegetables, and I just found myself, no matter how much I gorged, I was just always hungry. And then, but if I mixed in a little bit of meat, whatever that was, fish, chicken, pork, steak, it satisfied that. And it didn't need to be much meat, but just a little bit. Do you find that, or do you find yourself like you're not hungry after you eat?
I'm never hungry, and I eat all day, every day, primarily out of boredom. And when I do, like if I eat nonstop, I'll probably get in maybe like 2,000 calories worth of stuff, and I never feel hunger pains. It's just all out of like boredom. Like maybe I'm twitching, and I'll pop some pistachios.
Okay.
Or I ride the bicycle and then I'll grab. I wasn't hungry when I got this can of pineapples, but I was thirsty, so I just kind of drank the juice. But yeah, I'm never hungry, man. And I don't know. I guess people just have different metabolisms or whatever it is. But because I've heard you say that before, maybe other people.
Yeah.
And then I've also had my experience shared with other people where, when they start eating this way, they're just never hungry. Now, the flip side is, if I eat junk food, I can eat like 3,000 calories of junk food and be hungry 2 hours later.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe, like, did you eat anything like potatoes or rice or corn? Or when you say vegetables, are you thinking like spinach and like celery, like that type stuff?
Yeah, pretty much no meat, bell peppers, spinach, broccoli, onion, tomatoes.
That's not gonna do anything for. I understand now why you are hungry. Like I'll eat that stuff, and it's great to eat that stuff health wise, but that stuff isn't gonna fill you up. You got to throw like some potatoes and corn and rice and that stuff in there.
A little more calorie dense, huh?
Yeah. Bananas that's something I eat a lot of. Nuts are really good for filling you up also.
Okay.
I eat pistachios pretty much every day.
Okay. That keeps you the monounsaturated fat. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Maybe that was where I went wrong.
And I haven't eaten meat since like January.
Wow.
Yeah. And all my health markers are good. I'm not losing a ton of weight in terms of like in the past when I've lost weight in different ways, I've lost it faster. And so I'm losing weight slower now, I think, but I'm also healthier. So to me, that's a good trade-off. It's not like I'm, I got some sort of timetable where I need to be in shape for a bodybuilding contest in 3 months or something. So, if it takes 12 months to lose the weight that I want to lose, that's fine as long as my blood pressure is in a normal range now. Whereas before, that was one of the biggest catalyst for me to start eating this way is, to get my blood pressure down, because they wanted to put me on the blood pressure medication. And there was no way I was ever going to do that. But this worked a lot faster and a lot better than those pills would have.
Okay. Yeah, I would never be able to do that myself, get on any kind of blood pressure medication or anything. And I would be like, okay, never mind. I'll do this with diet. I can't. For one, the money, and for number two, just the thought of being on the medication for cholesterol or something would drive me insane.
The problem with the medications is they don't solve the problem. It's almost like a Band-Aid that hides the problem until your body really breaks down. So it's almost like a drug dealer. Actually, they are drugs. So in a sense, these doctors are like drug dealers, and where they give you a little bit. The story you always hear is like the first hit's free. So like these blood pressure pills are kind of cheap relative to the bypass surgery you're gonna have to pay for in 5 or 6 years of using those, where you're kind of just masking the problem as opposed to fixing it. So to me, it's all a big scam. So I was like, I'm not gonna take part in this. And I want to say it was April. My blood pressure was around like 150 over 110, and I stopped eating meat. I actually stopped eating meat in January, but I was eating a lot of junk food type stuff. Like technically, Oreos are vegan, and like so, like stuff like that, and like tortilla chips, like a bunch of processed stuff. And I cut the majority of that stuff out in April when I needed to do something about my blood pressure. And from April till about May, so I should say like the beginning of April to around the end of May.
I'm picturing you eating Oreo nachos, patting yourself on the back. Healthy eating.
You know what it is? This is and Mike know this. The Lara bars. That's the thing that I discovered that saved me. They're basically like like health bars in a way, but they're made out of they're great. But then they're made out of nothing but, like, the one I like the best is called Blueberry Muffin. And when you read the ingredients, it says like blueberries, dates, and cashews. So like no chemicals, no high fructose corn syrup. And so I was eating a bunch of those as well. But the point I was making is from April, the beginning of April to the end of May, when they wanted to put me on the pills, my blood pressure dropped from 150 over 10 to like 120 over 90, which is pretty much in the healthy range. And I don't believe the pills would have done it that fast. So this actually worked better than the pills. And, I can still respect myself in the morning, whereas I couldn't if I was taking those pills.
Yeah. I meant to ask you, how much I just bought a couple boxes of the bars at the local grocery store, and they were $8.99 for a box of 4. That's outrageous, right?
What store are you shopping at? Oh, you live in California too, though.
Yeah. I'll have to look. Wait, maybe are there 6 of them in those? Either way, I seem to remember you paying like 29 cents each or something ridiculously cheap, right?
So it was weird. Like in Vegas, they were on sale. Like when I first discovered them, I was buying them for like $1 a piece in like the pharmacy aisle. And then when we got to Vegas for the WSOP this summer, there was a store that had a coupon where you could get them buy one, get one free, basically. So they were 50 cents each. So I basically just stole all the coupons, and I had them for 50 cents each all summer up until the end of June. That's when the sale ended, and then they went back up to $1. So if I buy them individually, usually I get them $1 a piece, but I get them from like Walmart in a box of 5 for about like $4.79, I think. And I know California is expensive, but I don't think it should be an extra $3 on top of something that's normally $5. So I would just go to Walmart and look. They're usually they're either in the pharmacy aisle or in or the aisle where the cereal is, because they'll kind of put them over by the breakfast bar sometimes.
Pretty sweet.
Oh, speaking of Walmart, have you guys? I bought some Walmart stock a few weeks ago, simply for their online business. I had to buy a queen size double-decker air mattress. I went on Amazon. The cheapest one I could find was $80. Then I went on eBay. The cheapest one I could find there was $60. And then I went on Walmart.com, and I got one for $43 delivered to my door 2 days later. And I was like, I think this company's going somewhere. And so I started researching it. Since they started offering stock, it's split twice. Now Amazon, their stock right now, I think it's since it opened up in '98, it's split 11 times, and each share is $1,000. Walmart, I bought it at 76, and the last I checked a day or two ago, it was at 81. So,
Steve, Carlos's financial profile is pulling nickels out of the couch when Assassinato leaves the house. There, come on, man.
I just
Mike,
saw something on TV
hold
yesterday.
on. Mike, I'll have you know that my degree is in finance. So.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
So if you want to get into cap rates and all that, just let me know.
I
didn't say you wouldn't understand the conversation. I just,
Touche.
I just had to use the phrase cap rates because that's the only one I remember from college.
I was gonna say I don't even know what that means. He sounds good. But I saw that Google and Walmart.com are teaming up to compete with Amazon, and I'm like, I think we got something good here. So we'll see. Just a little tidbit there for investments.
You know what? I think I may jump on that just because of your track record with Bitcoin.
We were talking about that earlier before you came on. I'm like, I want to get. I made friends with a guy that's, he's an expert as far as I'm concerned at Bitcoin. He quit his computer SEO job to do digital currency full time. And I picked his brain for about an hour, and about halfway through it, I'm like, God, I wish I would have done this from Skype and recorded it as a podcast because this is gold, So I'm going to try to get him on the podcast and pick his brain because that guy knows his shit. Yeah, it's very, very good.
that would be great because I've been hearing some good things about. Obviously, we've seen where it's how far Bitcoin has come. But I've been hearing good things about where it's going. Like, this is not the peak from what I hear.
Well, I mean, as much as I get just depressed with this conversation, when I took all the money off, Carbon last year, $40,000, it was all in Bitcoin. Probably, I saw it. I mean, I needed the money, but at some point I've had 100 Bitcoin, in my possession, which now would be worth, just whatever that is. $400,000, yeah. And the funny thing is, at the time though, I had when it was all really pouring in, I had just had my little deep run in the Colossus, and I didn't really need the money. I could have survived without it if I was, Anyways, let's move on.
Yeah, but anybody would have told you at that time not to keep 40K in Bitcoin. Because it's so volatile, and then that's just too much to have in there at one time. But I wish I'd taken the Steve route and just bought one and held on to it. I think I'm going to do that with some of the other ones.
Ethereum.
Yeah, that's the one that I hear a lot about. And Litecoin is another one, I think.
That one, after talking with that expert, he said that's going to go the way of the dodo. He said that I can't remember the exact reasoning when I got him on. He's like, sell that one Litecoin you got. I bought it for $50. Now it's worth 40 or something. And he's all, just roll it over into Ethereum. He said that basically, I'm trying to remember the reasoning. It was something like they had a problem with some type of exchange, and Ethereum solved that problem before they did. And since Ethereum is stronger, it's going to win. So
gotcha.
Yeah. Just 2 cents there.
I like just the whole thing. You can see why it's kind of addictive here. I like just the penny stock thing where you can, I actually own over 4,000 shares of one of them. So I feel really, and it jumped up from 17 cents to 27 cents since I bought it. So I'm like, player.
Yeah.
So whatever that is, $400 or $40. I don't even know how much that is, but yeah.
Yeah. There was another one he was talking about called Fun, F-U-N, and it's another digital currency. And I guess what he said it was he said some of these online gambling sites you can play using Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's not translated into American dollars or some other currency. And he said the problem with those is with all the blockchain, he said, placing one blackjack bet using Ethereum, it may take 15 or 20 seconds for it to calculate, what one bet is because it's got to run through all the blockchain. He said, now what this fun currency does is basically, let's say all three of us are playing blackjack against the house. We all buy in for 100 and we just play. And then after it's all done, and let's say, Carlos, you cash out for 120, and I cash out for 80, and Mike cashes out for $4, then it does all the calculations then, and that's when it takes the 20 or 30 seconds to run through all the blockchain, and then you're done, instead of having to do it every single transaction. So he was pretty optimistic about that one.
When can you tip strippers with Bitcoin? That'll be the turning point when I know this thing is taking off here. Like you have bracelets with your Bitcoin address, and you hold hands, affectionately. They rub against each other, and they've.
Okay, we're a couple of years away from that, Mike.
No, it's coming, I think.
Yeah. How would you even do that? How would you slip a Bitcoin into her G-string? I don't know how that would work.
Eventually, the strippers are going to be robots anyway, so
right.
There'll probably be like a credit card slot.
Right. Well, it's the same goddamn difference. Soulless beasts. I'm not angry at all, but onto poker again. We were talking about Assassinato on TPE, and and that's the funny thing is, obviously Carlos, is kind of the you're one of the really reps faces for the company, and you've been so long. And I asked you once but I also know you've devoured every bit of Assassinato material. And it's funny, it always occurred to me, like, I wonder if Andrew and Mark know that Assassinato is really your go-to guy here. Like, TPE's the wife, and Assassinato was the mistress on the side. I'm like, there's no more hiding anymore. They're together.
Yeah.
They know about each other.
I think they knew.
I was looking for the creepiest analogy possible there. So
yeah, that was pretty high up there on the creep factor.
Yeah.
As you're laying in bed with your two honeys. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I will say that I thought about this the other day. Like, of all of the humans on the planet Earth, I may have heard more hours of Alex's voice than anybody else's. From all the podcast episodes that he's been a guest on, and the 1 Hour podcast that he hosts,
sure.
and then living with him, and then now on TPE videos, it's just like nonstop Alex.
Your mom was the strong silent type, I take it.
She was. She still is. we only communicate through text now, so I don't hear her voice as much.
I'm not sure which is more creepy, that you've heard Alex's voice more than anyone else, or what Mike said before that.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's pretty exciting to have him at TPE. So I'm looking forward to what the future is going to bring with this joint venture.
Yeah. Now,
funny thing, I was also
still living together, or did he move out, or?
No, we are still living together for about another week, and he's going to be moving back across. He's going to be moving across the country, closer to his girlfriend, and I'm going to go back to the hotel I was in before he got to Bullhead City. Okay.
You're going to be doing that Sunday through Thursday thing at the hotel, and then in the Knitmobile in Vegas on the weekends, kind of thing.
Yep. So the semi-homeless poker player is back, and I'm kind of looking forward to it, because when I was in Vegas this summer and I would meet people, the number one question I would get is, "Are you still living in a van?" And then I realized that the van was way more popular than me all along. So I'm glad I got my co-star back now.
You got some groupie, some hot chick is coming up to you. Let's take me back to the van. You're like, actually, I got a nice house. She's like, oh my God, it's disgusting.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Appalled.
Yeah. So back in the van, back doing the weekend thing at the Win, which I'm really looking forward to. Love that card room. So that'll probably be during the month of September. Maybe October, because I also finally, after almost a year, finished the last little bit of paperwork I needed to do to start substitute teaching in California. And so I got hired for this job in November of last year, and I've yet to work one day. The entire time, it's like paperwork, jumping through hoops. right up until the kids went out for summer break. So now I got to wait all summer. And now that the kids are back in school, I just submitted one last piece of paperwork, and I think by the end of today, I will get the information I need to start accepting substitute teaching assignments.
Nice.
So I'll be splitting my time between Bullhead City, Vegas, and Coachella, which is where I will be substituting.
I guess we should ask Assassinato directly, but I'm curious. I mean, do you think this kind of you would never move across the country for a woman, would you?
Me, no, but I'm the wrong person to ask. Like, I'm a love hater.
Right. Okay. Just from on Facebook. He's totally infatuated with this chick. I mean, I'm just wondering if you counseled him and he hasn't been dating her that long, right? I mean, I don't know.
But
I'll defer to his judgment here, but you know what I mean.
I'll put it this way: like, he's known her a lot longer than they've been dating. Like, they went to high school together.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's right.
Okay. All right. I guess that gets the green line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, well, good for him. He sounds happy. Must be good for him then if he's moving all the way across the country for her. And,
but it's funny is I was also saying his first couple TPE videos are funny where he's such an established guy with the coaching and videos. He's happy to be with TPE, but he's not. He can just be himself. He's not fighting to prove himself. He's just like drinking the coffee and talking about all you dumbasses who leave your kids by the pool are worried about Zika virus and just. He's like talking like it's I mean, of course, there's some great strategy stuff, but he's he's just being himself.
Very entertaining, that's for sure.
That is definitely his style for sure.
Yes.
So how about you for the poker? Are you just doing the ignition thing? You grinding a lot, or what are you doing?
Just ignition right now. Haven't played a live tournament since the World Series ended. I was initially going to go to Cherokee for the circuit event at the beginning of this month, but my niece wanted to come to Vegas and hang out with me for a couple of days, so she did. And so I decided not to go to Cherokee and just stay and hang out with her. So that's where I kind of miss my little post-Vegas live poker trip. So since Vegas, it's been all ignition. And doing pretty good on there. I'm enjoying it.
Good.
Now, once you get in your groove of Vegas on the weekends, are you going to be putting little packages together to play the win dailies, or is that going to be part of your?
Yeah, I am going to do that. But another thing that I think I want to do this year is I have this idea in mind of taking I don't know, somewhere between $500 and $1,000 and just going to Vegas on a Friday or Saturday and just playing the first tournament of the day that's worth playing. Usually that's going to be around noon. Play that, and then if I bust so maybe I'll start at the win. Play the win tournament at noon. If I bust that by 2 or 3, shoot over to the Venetian and late reg their noon tournament. And then if I bust that, shoot over to, I think Bellagio has one that starts at 2. And then, if that one doesn't go well, shoot over to Aria and play whatever they have that starts around 5 or whatever. And just try to if I could play 5 or 6 live tournaments in one day, I feel like I can guarantee myself a live final table at least every 2-3 days. And that sounds like a lot of fun to me.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like rampage planning as well. I must caution. Just keep just.
When I heard you say late reg, I'm like, that sounds like something Mike would do.
Yeah. So it's almost like
it is fun. I will say that.
To me, and this is a conversation I have with people about why I don't like big field tournaments. Is whenever there's 1,000 runners or more, it's hard to final table these tournaments. And I don't like those because playing tournament poker for the sake of playing tournament poker is not fun to me. What's fun is making final tables.
Yeah.
So if I could just play 5 or 6 dailies, each that have maybe 50 50 to 100 runners max. I feel like I could play a live final table pretty frequently, and to me that's fun. Like of course online final tables are great, but there's nothing like a live final table.
Yeah.
And so to just be able to guarantee myself that once a week at least sounds great to me. But
Right.
yeah, the idea is kind of like a fantasy in my head right now. I'll probably do it once or twice and then realize how dumb it is and then stop. Unlike Mike, who's just continues to do it year in and year out.
Right.
So, and I'll put a cap on my, like, I probably wouldn't buy in if I could, if I had to start with less than 50 bigs, I wouldn't do it.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds.
I think I'm finally sold on the big field stuff. I mean, other than summer in Vegas, like there's tournaments. I looked at the schedule, like the $1 million guarantee with the $300 buy-in with 15 starting days.
Yeah.
Where it's just, well, for me, I'd like to think it's questionable. We don't have a sample size that I'm on now on the way to becoming a winning cash game player. So it's just, the time but I got no problem paying $500. Like any $500 tournament for me is going to be like a smaller field, $500 or less. I'll play a big field with for a 1K. But so like again, like the win dailies, I'll play.
Yeah, those are so good.
That's my favorite tournament right now in Vegas. Are those noon win tournaments? They're freaking awesome.
Anything with more than 3 starting days to me is in a poker tournament. That's a that's a lottery. So
I don't know if I even like these multi-day tournaments. It's like at first it was cool to like, hey, I bagged. Yeah. I made a day 2. That felt like a cool thing to do when I hadn't done it before. But once I've done it, it's like, like bagging and then making day 2 and busting before the money is just torture to me. If I'm not going to get paid, I'd rather only spend 1 day on this as opposed to 3 or 4.
Yeah. The only time, at least for me, that's fun unbagging is when you're at least above the chip average. But when you come back and you've got 8 big blinds because you could just never find a spot, it's like, God, this is just...
Yeah,
I know I've only got a 15% chance of lasting more than an hour here.
Yeah, and it's like Mike was saying, it's like a $1 million guarantee with a $300 buy-in. So you're like babysitting this 8 big blind stack for 2-3 days, and then you like min cash for like $450 or whatever they give you. Yeah. It's like if those tournaments, if you're not going to be in a position to win it, they're not worth playing. Like they're not worth min cashing. When it's a small buy-in, big guarantee.
Yeah, I agree.
Somebody does have to win them, but
that's true.
That's pretty. Now, I've asked you the same question a couple times, Carlos, about like you. Of course, your big score on Ignition. You've only played. I find this curious. You've only played like the weekend major like a couple times since then, right? I mean, you're not interested in the big buy-in. But
yeah, maybe 3-4 times I've played it.
But when you were trying to, get money together for the main event, you put a link to your Ignition results, and it had like I forget 75 or 80% ROI. Immediately, I'm like, just play bigger buy-ins and play as many buy-ins as you can. And I mean, I don't know if your ROI is going to drop that much on that site. I mean, like you played the 1K. I mean, maybe the WSOP is something different. You played the 1K this summer, the bracelet event, and you were amazed that. I don't know. You just thought every player was going to be Chris Moorman or something. You thought that was such a jump up in competition, but you got the same exploitable players, right?
No, I played the 333 buy-in online bracelet event, and that one was definitely softer than I expected it to be. And the people that I know who played the 1K said the same thing. So I wish I'd played the 1K. In fact, I was going to play it after after my experience in the 333. I was like, man, it's even though the buy-in is higher, it's still soft. Like maybe I should play the 1K. But the only reason I decided not to play it is because it was being held at the same time as the 1K mega satellite at the WSO and I wanted to play that more because again, big buy-in, small guarantee, basically. And that's what I prefer. And so instead of playing the 1K online event, which probably, I don't know how many runners they had, maybe 500 or 1,000. I don't know how many, and they were good players. a decent number of them.
Right.
At least the people that made it deep, I'll say, versus the 1K mega satellite that I played, that you only had to beat 10% of the field, and the entire field sucked. Even the good players sucked because they brought their tournament strategy to play this, and it's really a completely different strategy when you're playing satellites than a regular tournament. And even the good players don't realize that. So that was basically like free money. So
Okay.
and I was able to win a seat for the listeners who didn't know that. So I played a 1K mega and won a $10,000 seat to the main event. And to be honest, it was pretty easy.
Huh. Okay.
So that.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure other people have told you the same thing. Is like, why? I mean, you could get backing too. Why aren't you playing the 150K and the 100K on ACR on the weekends?
I don't like ACR as much. As far as why I don't play the big tournaments on Ignition, same reason. The big tournaments have big fields. I don't want to play. I don't want to play big fields. Like the only tournament on there that I play that has a relatively big field is the $55 25K. I play that pretty much every day. And this past Sunday, I played a couple of bigger tournaments because I was able to satellite into them. So I played the major, but I was in for like $20 because I won a satellite. And the same thing for the 50K high roller. So I was into that one for $30 off of a satellite. And the high roller is probably, if I was going to play a bigger buy-in tournament regularly on Ignition, it would be that one, because that one was, I think, 270 buy-in and 50K guarantee. So that's maybe like a 200 player field. I can deal with that. When the fields are more than like 500 players, it's just not worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, the variance is too high.
Yeah, when I look at the payouts, like anything that pays more than like 27 spots, I don't want to play it.
Yeah. Okay.
Fair enough.
Makes sense. Well, I played yesterday as well. How'd your session go yesterday, Carlos?
I got like 10th or 11th in one tournament, and I think I bricked everything else. So it was a small losing day, I think.
Okay, yeah. I played 16 tournaments and cashed in one. It wasn't much of a cash either. I was like, man.
Yeah.
I got a couple of hands here I want to pick your guys' brain on. First, I'm going to tell you guys about Tournament Poker Edge. Let's get better at tournaments. Join Mike, me, and Carlos at TPE. We've got thousands of videos, thousands of forum posts from some of the best pros in the business. Alex Fitzgerald just joined TPE, and he has his first video series up. I watched that one last night and this morning, like we were talking about. Sign up today and use the codes HUP month, HUP quarter, or HUP year. SYSC, man. Save yourself some cash. I just signed up for the year, and when you use the code, it comes out to only $22.50 a month. You can't beat it. That's less than 75 cents a day. What are you going to do? Like, stop playing tournaments? That's not an option. Join Tournament Poker Edge. Give yourself an edge in tournaments. It's in the name. Okay, Carlos. This one is, let's see. We're approaching the bubble. And it's a, let's see. This was a 75K guarantee. A 7,500 guarantee and a $22 buy-in. We're approaching the bubble. We're around 70 players, 63 pay. Okay. We're in the small blind, and we have 31 big blinds. So the table is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're six-handed.
Okay.
And under the gun, min raises to 4K. So the blind levels are 1,000, 2,000. We've got 1,400 in antes. And, I take that back. We're seven-handed. Sorry. Seven-handed. 1K, 2K. UTG makes it 4K. And it folds around to us in the small blind, and we've got pocket nines. So we've got 31 big blinds. The opener has 74. and the guy in the big blind, he has 8 big blinds. The original opener, we've only got 25 hands on him. He's a 32-28. So not a whole lot of information to go by, but 74 bigs, we got 31, and we got pocket 9s.
I'm probably just shoving. And I know that seems crazy, but with these type of hands, it's like I don't want to flat. And this seems like the type of player that's going to call a 3-bet. And if he calls a 3-bet, very often the board is going to be, especially with him having us covered, if like there's an overcard and we see bet and he calls, like what are we doing on the turn? And like these type of medium pairs, to me, are kind of tough to play post flop.
Yeah.
And the thing that I like about shoving is that if this guy has like Jack 10 suited, he's going to fold. But if he has 8s, he's going to call.
Yeah.
Which is perfect for us when we have 9s. And I also feel like he's going to flat if he has Jack 10 suited and we 3-bet, he's going to flat. And in position, I think he's the type of person that will float the flop and end up taking away from us on the turn. And I'm basing this on, I know we don't have a huge sample size, but from what we do have, it seems like he's been pretty aggressive. Do we know, is he like the big stack at the table, or is he like kind of in the middle?
He's the big stack at the table by quite a bit. We've got big blind has 8 bigs. He's got 74. Then going around the table, 14, 10, 23, 60, and then we have 31.
Yeah, so I think I like shoving with like 9s and 10s, and then with like jacks plus, I think I start 3-betting those because there's fewer, there's more hands in this range that we dominate that will call us when we have like jacks. Like for example, if we 3-bet with 9s, I don't know if he's calling us with like 10-8, but if we 3-bet with jacks, he's probably calling us with queen 10.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's my approach in these spots. Like 9s and 10s, I would shove, maybe even 8s, and jacks plus I would 3-bet.
Yeah, that sounds like good advice because I remember in the moment here, I'm like, I was looking at this and I'm like, I've got 31 big blinds. He raised under the gun. I can't fold this, can I? Like, and in my mind, 30, shoving over 30 bigs here is just too much. But 3-betting felt wrong as well, and I was certain folding wasn't correct. It just seemed like a super awkward spot, and none of my options seemed good. But now that you ran through that, I think you're right. I think shoving probably is best. I mean, if he has 10s or better, he's calling, and we're just screwed. But him being the big stack and being active, his under the gun opening range is probably, I don't know, 30%.
Also keep in mind that he's going to be opening, if he's, I'm not even going to say good, I'm going to say aggressive, which he is. An aggressive player, an aggressive big stack should be opening even wider on the bubble.
Yeah.
And so there should be a pretty large gap between the range of hands he's opening versus the range of hands he's calling a 31 big blind shove with. And like I said earlier, it's kind of a beautiful setup where that raised calling range does not include hands that we flip with, like Jack 10, Queen 10 suited, but does include some hands we dominate, like 8s and 7s.
Yeah, yeah. And when we shove here, a lot of the hands that we're flipping with are probably going to fold. Like he's
Right.
not calling a shove there with Queen Jack or King 10 or something,
Exactly. And that's what we want when we have 9s.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. I was almost timing out when I was doing this, which was probably giving away a lot of information, but just nothing felt right. And I thought, okay, well, I know folding's bad. So I end up 3-betting. And then it was kind of playing into my mind, too, that the big blind only has 8 bigs. His stack is 14K, and we started the hand with 62. And so I end up 3-betting. I make it 11,111. Probably should have gone a little bit bigger being out of position, but I like your move now. Just shove it in and forget about it.
Yeah, so if I'm going to 3-bet, I do want to 3-bet bigger. I would probably go like 14 here, which is 22% of our stack. So that's another option. If you don't want to shove, just 3-bet big with the knowledge that if he 4-bet shoves on you, he probably has 9s beat. And if you make it big enough, he can't really flat you with a large range of hands. So if you really, I'll put it this way. If this is a tournament that you really want to cash, like that also factors into my decision also. Like I don't really care if I bubble this $22 tournament.
Yeah.
But if this is like a 2K guaranteed tournament, maybe I would care more. I'm sorry, not guaranteed. A 2K buy-in. Instead of shoving, maybe I would just make it like 14 or 15K. And I feel like that gets you pretty much the same fold equity, but allows you to dodge the few times he has like 10s plus.
Yeah, yeah. And, he's probably going to do the same with, he's probably going to reship Ace King there as well as 10s plus, but there's... I
think we're behind that range.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're smoked on that in that range. Okay. All right. Yeah, I make it 11K, and then I don't know if he clicked it, but he makes it 18,222. So
I just fold here.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, now there's 32K in the pot, and it's only like 6 for me to call here. But are we ever good?
I don't know if we're ever good. Even if we are, we're not necessarily going to win because we're still out of position. So if we call and there's like overcards, we're still losing, even if he has like 3s here. Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut my losses and fold now. Okay. Yeah. I think that's what I would do.
Okay. Yeah. I butchered this hand right from the get-go. Long story short, I end up flopping a set of 9s, and then but the whole time I was playing it, I was like, this is wrong. I went wrong somewhere, and I don't know where it was, but I remember thinking of like, I've got to ask Mike and Carlos about this because this hand just feels like I just completely butchered it.
That's actually a pretty cool hack. Is when you get to a certain street in a hand and you're completely lost. That means you made a mistake on the previous street.
Yes.
So that's where you want to look back and analyze. Yeah. So so he opens, you 3-bet, he clicks it basically.
Yeah.
You call and flop a set, and will you check shove?
No, I let out for like a third pot, and then he calls. The turn I fill up, and I check, he checks, and then the river is the worst freaking card it could have been. It was an ace, and I'm just hoping at this point, there's 64K in the pot, and I got 32K behind, and I'm like, please have ace king. That would make so much sense right here. And so I shove it in, and then he folds. So I'm like, damn it! I didn't even get full value when I did hit my set.
Yeah.
It's just a horrible hand. But even though I won it, I'm pissed. Like that, you know you played it bad when you win the hand and you're angry about it.
What site was this on?
ACR.
See, if this was an ignition hand, you would know what he had.
That's true.
That's why I love playing on this. I think I love playing on the ignition more so for the post-game study than for actually the value of the tournaments, because you learn so much from seeing the whole cards.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I remember reviewing one with Mark, and I got third in a $20 tournament or something, and I had ace king, and I remember I was in the I was in the small blind, and I had about 40 bigs, and under the gun raised, then there was a re-raise, and then a cold 4 shove from like late position, and I folded ace king, and Mark was like, nice fold, dude. A lot of people would have shoved it in there. And then afterwards we clicked to see what cards, and the guy that cold 4 shoved had 6-4 offsuit. I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me?
It's still a good fold.
I think so, yeah. But still, it was like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's like
God.
unless there was something in his stats that indicated that he was a psycho, then it's a fold. Like there's definitely times where I folded like kings in spots without thinking twice about it, and then when I go back and check, like I'm usually right.
Yeah.
I feel like when I make hero folds, I feel like I'm right like 80% of the time. And the 20% of the time that I'm not right, it used to hurt. Now I just think about all the money I've saved by making good hero folds. Is like, in my mind, one of my mantras is, it's better to make a bad fold than a bad call.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. That's good advice.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, I got one more here that was a stinger.
Okay.
This is why I'm talking about it. Okay, so we're there's 66 players left, 63 pay. So we're playing hand for hand now.
Okay.
And blind levels are 1250, 2500. With the antes and everything, we got 5500 in the pot. And we're in the big blind with 55K. So our M is 10. We've got 23 big blinds, and we're in the big blind. 1250, 2500.
Okay.
7-handed. It folds around to a player. His stats after 27 hands are 44-38.
Wait a minute. How many handed?
7-handed.
7-handed. Okay.
And this player is after 27 hands is 44-38.
Okay.
Real active, his 3-bet is 36. But I mean, I guess you can't go too much into 3-bet because it's only 27 hands. But that's extremely high for a third of the time he's 3-betting there.
Yeah, so he's 3-bet 9 times. Am I reading that right?
I think so. Yeah.
No, that's the 3-bet stat is just when there's a raised pot before him. So if it folds to him, he doesn't have an opportunity to 3-bet.
Right. So okay.
So he's probably 3-bet 4 out of 11 times. Would be my guess. 36%. He's probably had a single raised pot in front of him 11 times.
That makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
But 3-betting 4 out of 11 opportunities is pretty aggressive. So even though it's a small sample size, these numbers are through the roof, and I think that makes them reliable.
Okay. All right. Folds to him, and he's in the hijack. He min raises to 5K. And then it folds to us in the big blind. We've got 10,500 in the pot, 2,500 to call, and we have 8-9 of diamonds. 23 bigs.
Yep.
Right? And Villain has 73 bigs, so he's the big stack at the table, and we're playing 23 bigs effective. So this is always just a call, right? We're never.
Yeah, off of this stack size, and he seems kind of crazy. So I basically want to flop some type of pair against him and just never fold it.
Okay.
So I'm calling.
Okay. We flick in a call. There's 13K in the pot. We're playing 53K effective. So,
quickly, can I ask Carlos about just the stack size spot? I know you're against the people with the wide ranges. You've been talking a lot about you like 3-betting and then triple barreling. Like, would this be, if you had 35 or 40 bigs, would this be like a great spot to do that, or is this not a hand you choose for that kind of spot?
No, this is perfect, but I will want to be like 60 bigs deep effective.
Okay, deeper. Okay, I got you.
So basically, I want to size it to where my river shove is roughly pot or maybe a little bit less. And if you do it off this stack size, you're not even going to make it to the river. You're going to have to shove the turn.
Right.
And I mean, that's reasonable. I mean, this hand on most turn cards will have at least a gutter. And so against some of these player types, that may be enough. But this guy doesn't seem like the normal aggro player. Like I'm generally doing this against people who are opening too many hands and probably calling too many 3-bets and then giving up at some point post flop. I don't know if this guy's folding ace high to a shove, especially when he has us covered, which is another reason I want to do it when my stack is closer to his stack size. I want him to feel like his tournament life is on the line when he's faced with my river shove.
I got you. So 60 bigs, it would be like, okay, 6.5 bigs for the 3, $7 for the C bet, 14 for the turn, and then you have your 35 big shove on the river.
Right. This is how I look at it. So, and I wrote an article about this. I basically try to put in a third of my stack before I get to the river. So if I have 60 bigs, say this guy opened for 2, and I have 60 bigs, I want to get in 20 pre-flop and on the flop and turn.
Okay.
So I'm probably going to go 6 on the 3-bet. So now I got 14 left. And I'm probably going to bet like maybe 6 again, and then 8 on the turn, and then shove river.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, obviously, if you bet 16 to 17 bigs on the turn, you're really kind of pricing him into, well, he's going to be calling with greater frequency on the river.
Right. I want that river bet to be roughly pot size. So let's say he makes it 2, I make it 6, and he calls. There's like 12 in the middle. And then I see bet 6 and he calls. Now there's 24 in the middle. Wait a minute. I think I'm missing something here. Is that right? Why am I betting 8 on the turn? Did I say 8 on the turn?
Well, if you put 8 on the turn, yeah, there would be, if you went 6, 6, and 8, 8 seems pretty small. There'd be 40 bigs in. Yeah, there'd be 40 bigs in there, and you'd have 40 bigs left in your stack. So that's a pot-sized shove.
That'd be a pot-sized shove.
Yeah, the problem here is that I'm betting 8 in the 24 on the turn.
That's small, yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of want to keep it, I guess, standard sizing. So maybe I would go like 5 pre-flop, and then when he calls me, now I got a little bit more room to size my post-flop bets. But however I break down pre-flop, flop, and turn, I want to get in roughly 20 big blinds over those 3 streets. Because if I start with 60 and I put in 20 and he puts in 20, there's 40 in the middle and I have 40 to shove. So maybe I'll 3-bet a little bit smaller to kind of like set that up. So maybe like 5, 6, and 9. That's probably closer to what we want to do. So we 3-bet 5, then we're C-betting 6 into 10. And if he calls that, there's going to be 22 in the middle, and then we're betting like 9 into 22. We could even bet like 10 there, and then just shove like 39 into 41 or whatever it would be on the river. Just something close to pot size on the river. It doesn't have to be exactly pot size. So that's probably what I would do if I was that deep. But at this stack size, I think all we can do is just call.
Okay. All right.
Which is what Steve does.
That's what I do, so I'll give myself a pat on the back for that one. Okay. 8, 9 of diamonds. Pot is 13K. We've got 53 behind, so stacked pot ratio is like 4 to 1. A little bit less than 4 to 1, like 3.8 or something. Flop is, we've got 8, 9 of diamonds. Flop is 6 of diamonds, 6 of hearts, 9 of hearts. So we've got top pair, backdoor straight draw, backdoor flush draw, and we're first to act.
I hate this. because these are those spots where I want to check shove, but I did something similar to this in a live tournament and got some coaching from Andrew on it. And he basically said when you check shove a hand like this, you're turning a bluff catcher into a bluff. And so he kind of told me to like just check call in these spots because I feel like we have the best hand here pretty much every time.
Yeah, at least 85%, right?
Right. And this guy is going to bet if he doesn't have, like, if he doesn't have anything, he's going to bet. And so why check shove and prevent him from betting? It's like when you check shove here, you're not doing it to get called by worse. So you're basically like turning the bluff catcher into a bluff. And I still feel like that's right. Like I feel like I still want to do that. But this is when I would like sigh and like punch the table and force myself to play right and just check call.
Okay. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would say, if this guy's his ag, as you say, he might, I don't know, maybe he calls you with ace high. Oh, this guy thinks just because he might call you with pocket threes. I could be wrong.
Maybe he will, but that is like the tip top of his range. If he's opening as wide as we think he is, like I don't want him to get away from like 7 deuce or whatever else he has in his range. So like, I feel like, yeah, if he has one of those hands you mentioned, he'll probably call, but the majority of his range is nothing, and I want him to bet that as well. And I think he'll bet all of his air, but he'll also probably bet ace high and threes. So
how about like min clicking on the on your check raise? It doesn't have to be check shove.
There's some merit to that. Like
give him a chance to spaz out, maybe.
Yeah, and Steve kind of did this in the last hand. I don't know if you heard the last hand, but I kind of liked Steve's post flop line in the last hand where he basically, I think, led out in a spot like this, right. And the guy called, and then he checked on the turn. Gotcha. So your check raise small here is similar to leading out, and I assume you check raise small, and if the guy calls you, you check the turn.
Yeah.
That's probably what I, because like,
or you shove. I mean, at the point of the turn, you'd have. I'm just check raising small, so if he calls, just to get him to put an extra, 4 big blinds in there, whatever, which would be at that point you pretty much have a pot size bet. No, I'd probably shove most turns, I think. But I guess you're saying, then he's at that point, you're taking away his chance to bluff. You're just getting him to fold the worst bet every time. But like I said, tournament life is worth preserving here. So if you check shoved here, you get what is that? You get 8 big blinds, and you went from 23 to 29 bigs or whatever it is.
See, this is where I disagree with Andrew and all the good players out there. I think a lot of times they don't value tournament life enough because we are turning a bluff catcher into a bluff, but we're also getting the guy to fold out some equity with like queen jack or whatever he may have, that if he does hit in this spot and bust us, like that's kind of a big deal, losing our tournament life. So that I'm always confused. What's the buy-in?
Same tournament, 22.
Okay. Yeah, so again, this is always going to factor into it for me. Like, is this a tournament that I'm happy to min cash? And if that's the case, then I'm going to be more passive in these spots. Or not even passive, but like basically check shove the flop and just end the hand here. Whereas if it's a tournament where I'm not happy to min cash, like I want to get more into the top 10 or whatever the payouts are, I'm going to take more risk in spots like this and allow this guy room to bluff off with a hand that could suck out on me. So it really depends on how valuable the min cash is to you.
Okay. All right. Well, okay, so just to recap here, we've got 8-9 of diamonds in the big blind, active guy, big stack at the table, min raised, we called, and the flop came down 9 of hearts, 6 of hearts, 6 of diamonds, and we have 8-9 of diamonds. So I went for the check call, and my reasoning was pretty much what you were saying, Carlos, is that I think this guy is c-betting almost 100% of the time when we check to him, and we've got top pair here. Let's get some money in here, and into 13K he clicks the half pot button and he bets 6,500. What do you guys think at this point?
Is this still the flop?
Yeah, still the flop.
You say you check call, right?
I went for a check call. Yeah, I guess we kind of already dissected that, right? If you bet, Mike, you kind of liked clicking it back a little bit. Carlos, you like the check call line?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I check call. Now we've got 26K in the pot, 46K effective. So almost 2-to-1 stack to pot ratio, and the turn is the 4 clubs. So we got 8-9 of diamonds. Flop was 9 of hearts, 6 of hearts, 6 of diamonds. Turn is the 4 of clubs. Actions on us.
I think you're supposed to check call.
Okay, Mike.
I don't want to, but I think that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I'd be curious if Andrew, when you decide not to check raise the flop, are you commit at that stack size? Are you never folding regardless of the run out? I mean, if the run out's ace king, are you still folding? Are you still calling both streets?
There's probably like some like ace king may be like one of the worst run outs, and that's probably like the bottom, say, of like all possible run outs. Like maybe you fold like the bottom 10-20% worse of them, and then the rest you just call it off. So like for the majority of the time I'm calling off here, and to be honest with you, I'm probably calling if it's a king. Maybe I give the guy credit if there's an ace, but a king seems more like a card that he wouldn't have, but he would try to rep. And I think his range is just so ace heavy that we can probably give him credit on an ace. But at the same time, that changes if the turn card, again, just going from flop to turn. If the turn card is something that gives me more equity, I'm willing to go broke even if it's an ace on the river also. So like, for example, if this 4 was like a 4 diamonds, or like even like a 7, or even, I think a 7 is the only other card. Well, 10 gives us a gutter. So anything that improves me on the turn is going to cause me to commit myself regardless of what he does. But like if the turn doesn't improve me, like if the turn's a king, I'm probably check calling again. And then if the river's an ace, and then okay, I'll give up. But if turn's a king and then like the river's a 10, maybe not. I feel like this guy's gonna like bluff 3 streets with ace high in certain situations. So, and maybe I'm overestimating how aggressive this guy is, but when I'm this short and I flop a pair against a guy this aggressive, it's gonna be hard to get me to fold.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I went for the same line. I thought, okay, well, that's a pretty safe turn. I'm going to go for the check call. And I check, and he checks behind. So we go to the river. We've got 8-9 of diamonds. The river is the queen of spades. So the final board now is the flop was the 9 of hearts, 6 of hearts, 6 of diamonds. Turn was the 4 clubs, and river is the queen of spades. There's 26K in the pot. We've got 46K in our stack, which is the effective stack, and the action's on us.
I think he's got ace high a lot when he checks back the turn. You might actually be able to get a little value here, 20%, little annoying bet where he puts you on. Well, I don't know if he calls you, but
I think I would probably check call here because I think an aggressive player, like if somebody's aggressive, I want to give them rope. And what I don't want to do is like bet and have this guy shove. Because I'm probably going to call and hate life. But like I'm definitely going to see this showdown one way or the other. Either I'm going to bet and call a shove, or I'm going to check call. And I guess an aggressive player, like maybe he tries to rep that queen if I check to him. And yeah, he could have an ace and maybe checks that back. But I want to say his range is wide enough for me to assume that he has a lot of hands that don't have showdown value. Maybe like he's just decided not to bet the 4 because that's not a good barrel card. And or maybe he picked up like some equity and he wanted to take his free card or something. That's just a long way of saying I probably rather check call because I don't want to bet fold.
Okay.
That's the summary of what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Well, can you if you bet small, can you get caught? This we talked about a hand actually before you got on, and again, what I want to do and what I think top pros do are very different. But I think it was a spot where a lot of pros would say, "Well, I got no problem, bet fold in there," because he's never shoving with worse, and he can call with worse.
Right, and so this is kind of like
this might be an exception to that, especially if you bet small. But yeah, I'm just throwing that out there. Bet folding might not be a tragedy here. I don't know.
I almost feel like I'm either doing one or two things. I'm either check calling or I'm betting small and calling a shove. I'm never going to bet big because like the bet small, and this is something I've done online, and I think I've seen you do it live also, Mike, is like when you bet small there and the guy, if he has something like 3s, he's not going to raise with that. He's just going to call.
Right.
If he has ace high, he's just going to call. So when you bet small, the only reason for this guy to raise is if he can't beat a pair. And
right.
so like you're betting small to induce a bluff. Yeah. And so if that's the case, I'm never bet folding. So to me, the options here are bet small, call a shove, or to check call. I think the worst line would be to like bet half pot and then call a shove. You beat more often, I think, if that's the case.
Yeah, I like that.
So I don't know, between those two things, maybe betting small with the intention of calling a shove is better than check folding, because you can't get some aggressive players like this guy to just spaz out.
Yeah.
Are there any things in the HUD where you can, I don't know, I think maybe I'm exploitable this way where I'm real aggressive with like 3-betting and check raising. It's hard to say with this guy. We don't have that many hands on him, but like there's guys who have like really aggressive stats who are you think are going to put you in really tough spots, like turns and rivers, but like a lot of guys just tell the truth later streets. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I use the Assassinato HUD, and on his, he has it set up where you can see the person's betting frequencies on flop, turn, and river. And when you see like somebody c-betting like 90% of hands, and then maybe betting turn like 70%, and then the river bet's only like 20%. So like you don't have to worry about that guy when you get to the river. He kind of gets honest on the river.
Okay.
So like you can look at post-flop betting frequencies to kind of get an idea of how people play on later streets.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I have those stats on my HUD, but this guy doesn't have enough hands to even...
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
This would, by the way, Steve, this would be a perfect time to discuss my famous hands where I bet small just to induce a raise so I could call with queen high. But Carlos won't let me discuss that with him because he's, for my own benefit, he doesn't want me being too pleased with that move.
Yeah, that was actually a test. I set that softball up just to see if you would bring it up, just to see if you were cured or not. And I see you still have a long way to go.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Just fine.
That should not be in the arsenal, I guess. But anyways, that's all I had to go on this summer, man. I got my fucking ass handed to me. But anyways,
You take that same hand with pocket deuces, and I love it.
Okay.
So maybe that's the way to go here. So what did you do, Steve?
Check call or bet small, call it off.
I like that. I like the bet small, call it off now more. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
I do too. My plan here was I was like, I thought, okay, I can bet small here. I can get value from, maybe he'll call me with ace high. And then I was thinking, maybe that's kind of ambitious. But anyways, I bet small. I bet 8-8 into 2,600 or 26,000. And then he insta shoved. And anyways, then that's when I was realizing I was like, maybe I should have check called instead of doing this.
I think your sizing is small enough to. Not only is it small, it's like the douchey 4/8s that'll piss people off sometimes. Instead of like just betting like 9K,
yeah,
you bet like 888 or 8765. Like that piss some people off sometimes. So I probably would call this shove. And if I lose to a queen, fine. But I can't see him having better than a queen.
Okay.
Like, is he checking back the turn with like an overpair or a better 9? Maybe a 6. I feel like I would happily bet small and call here.
Okay.
I do that. How many chips? What's the cost here?
Okay, I got let's see. I bet there's 26K in the pot. I bet 8-8. I've got 37K behind. So when I bet, there's 34. We'll call it 35K in the pot, and I've got 38 behind.
So basically, you got 38K to win like 75K or something like that. So yeah, you got to be right just 30% of the time here or something.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If I do that, he rips it in instantly. And I thought, okay, well, I can't fold, and so I called, and he had king queen. So, GG.
Yeah, I think that a queen is pretty much the only thing we're losing to here, and who knows? Maybe he doesn't even like shove with his worst queens. Like if this guy's opening like queen 7, maybe he doesn't even shove with that. And we just kind of like, in a sense, block bet to where he probably, if we check, maybe he was betting bigger than that with a hand like that. But yeah, king queen makes sense.
And he might not have any bluffs in his range there, but we don't have the information to
know,
prove that or disprove that.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
This actually reminds me of a hand I played recently. I'm trying to find it on Twitter right now. Since Mike tried to sneak his little brag hand in, let me try to sneak one in. Let's see. Can I even? All right. So this was a funny hand. Well, sometimes you just know when a guy's out to get you. It's like Mark calls it, like when he's doing his TPE videos, he'll say, "This guy has a boner for me."
Yes.
And so like I was playing a tournament a couple of days ago where I kind of had that same feeling. And so I have a hand where I open ace 4 of clubs from early position off of 40 bigs. And this
ace
guy
had club?
Yes.
Okay.
And this guy's like, so I'm like UTG 2 and this guy's UTG 3. So he's like right next to me and he has like 50 bigs and he's basically been coming after me the entire time.
Okay.
So I'm min raise and everybody else falls. And the flop is 7 of clubs, deuce of hearts, 4 of spades. So I flop middle pair and a backdoor flush draw and like draws to like a gutter.
Say the flop again. 7 of clubs. What?
7 of clubs, 4 of spades, deuce of hearts.
Deuce of hearts. Okay. And your first act, the blinds even folded?
Yes.
Okay.
The big blind was pretty small, so even though he was getting a good price, it was a big percentage of his stack.
Okay.
So I bet half pot. The guy calls.
I like it.
and on the turn's a 6 of spades. And I check to him on the turn, and he just pots it. And I just call with third pair. And then on the river is a queen of spades, and he shoves. So I call with fourth pair now, and he has king 9 of clubs. So he just decided to bluff it off to me in that spot. And like sometimes I don't know what, I can't remember the hands previous to this that made me realize it, but if you're up against a guy like this where you know he's just dying to like give his stack to you, I think that little line that we discussed in the last hand where you're betting small to induce a bluff is good against guys like this. And maybe the hand where Mike bet small to induce a bluff and picked it off with queen high, maybe he kind of had the same dynamic with this guy where you just knew the guy was gunning for you. And if that's the case, I think you can make some pretty thin calls against these people.
Right. In that hand, actually, both of us had hard-ons, literally. But
I had an interesting dynamic happen yesterday at one of the tournaments. I ended up I had king of hearts, 9 of clubs, and on the turn I make the second nut flush, but as I was putting it together, I was like, oh, wait a minute, there's the 8 of hearts, 9 of hearts, 10 of hearts, queen of hearts, and I've got the king of hearts. And I thought, okay, I actually have the third nuts here because, the jack of hearts is for the straight flush and, and the ace heart. And the way the hand played down, I just didn't feel to me like he could have had an ace. So I put them all in on the river, and because a fifth heart came down, and I was hoping that he would either call, hoping to split the pot, or maybe he, had a jack for the straight, and no heart, and thinking like, oh, the dynamic that we had together was just, like I could feel that the guy was gunning for me, and he almost timed out, and at the last second he called, and he had the jack of hearts for the straight flush. And I'm like, oh.
Oh, he thought he just had a jack high flush. He didn't realize it was a straight flush, I guess.
No, he was just poking Steve in the.
I think he was just slow rolling me just to F with me.
Gotcha.
I was like, what a dick.
Oh man, why? Just one time let the guy time out in that spot.
Right?
Just like his computer freezes up, or he gets like the blue screen of death.
Yes.
That would have been so good, so good.
When he called, I was oh, good. I've got this one. He's hoping to split the pot, and then he flips over Jack for the straight flush, and I'm like, huh, what a dick.
Yeah, good thing that happened online,
right?
Like, God forbid that ever happens to me live.
I don't think anyone would do it live. I can't imagine anyone doing that live. That would just be a real dick move. Online, it was bad enough, but
have you heard of Steve Danneman? I bet that's in his arsenal.
You're probably right.
Dick moves, abound.
Oh god, that was great. Right on. Well, I should probably wrap it up here, guys. I'm hanging out with the family this weekend, and anyways, I got to run, but
okay,
this was
Stevie.
a lot of fun. Thanks, guys,
Carlos.
for coming on.
Thank you. This was great.
All right, alrighty. If you guys want to get in touch with Carlos or Mike, you can go to headsuppoker.poker and click on the COT tab. That stands for, I'm doing air quotes right now, Circle of Trust. You'll find Mike and Carlos's links there. You can hit him up, hit up Carlos for coaching. And thank you for tuning in. Here is your weekly motivational speech.
I don't go to sleep when I'm tired. I go to sleep when I'm done. Some of you sitting here, you stuck not because you don't have the gift, you stuck because your mindset is off.
But if you're not willing to pay the price to get it, you will never obtain it. That's the truth. That's the hard reality of the human condition, is you have to give blood, sweat, and tears to force your body and your mind to change. And oh my God, people understand the physical transformation. People do not understand a mental transformation because it's invisible.
What's the first decision you made this morning? I bet it was to go back to bed. The reason why I'm bringing up this first decision that you made today and the inner snooze alarm is because in any area of your life that you want to change, there's one fact that you need to know. You're never going to feel like it. How you get what you want. It's very, very simple to get what you want, but it's not easy. You have to force yourself.
Discipline is the pathway to freedom. Discipline in and of itself doesn't take from you. Discipline gives. Discipline tells you what to say yes to and what not to. It actually lightens your load. It's that thing that makes you you. It's that thing that gives you the energy to improve, to push yourself, to get better, to be willing to fight through good enough. But it starts with you.